Hello everybody and welcome to Notorious Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm Notorious Cly, and if I seem a little giddy right now, that's because I hit King of Games. I did it. I made it. I finally broke through. I got the crown, and I couldn't be happier about it. This King of Games run was incredibly special for me and incredibly rewarding. This was a deck, a list, a concept that I feel like I built from the ground up. It's the first time that I really haven't taking a look at what everybody else was doing and then just, got a bunch of good ideas and then meshed them all together until it worked. You guys all saw the videos on my channels. You saw the day 0 builds when things weren't even official. You saw the day 1 build. You saw every step of progress along the way. And it's really good to finally see a payoff to all that progress. And the payoff is being here right now, talking to all of you, and being happy that I got the King of Games. Very special moment for me. Very, very special moment for me. And I hope all of you get there too, and I hope it's just as special for all of you. So as you can see, I made it with 89 victories, which is pretty good. I think I mentioned in one of the previous videos, I've seen other people's lists come in. I haven't paid too much attention to them, but I was just kind of like poke, peek, see what's going on just for a little bit. And they all seem to be like in this win range all the way up to like 100 something wins, 120-ish wins. There were a couple I saw that were like 50 something wins, but they early cogged, which bookmark the early cog. I have some thoughts on that in relation to Resonators specifically. But so 89 wins seems like right in line with where I wanted to be, which is like one of the more efficient, more streamlined, more optimized builds of Resonators. Speaking of optimization, I don't think the list you're seeing on screen right now, I don't think that list is optimized at all. It's very hard to optimize a list for the King of Games ranked ladder. And I apologize for the camera shaking and the noise making. It's Elliot, everybody. Elliot wanted to come celebrate. Ugh. Hi, buddy. Elliot wanted to come celebrate with us, everybody. I think it's been a while since we had an Elliot guest appearance. Alright, but I got some talking to do, so I'm going to set you down and we can hang out later, okay? Alright. Bye, buddy. Guest appearance by Elliot, everybody. So I forget what I was saying. Yeah, I remember. Okay, so it's very hard to optimize a list for the King of Games ladder because there's so many decks that are viable, so many decks that can get you to King of Games. You never really know what you're going to run up against, and it's very hard to tech your deck accordingly for those matchups. It's very hard to have matchup-specific stuff for those types of things. You can make accommodations and provisions and plans for some of the decks you think are going to be the most popular, but there's no guarantee that you're going to run into them as often as you think you will. I had a lot of that happen with me. I would run into like 2 or 3 Phantom Knights duelists right in a row, and then not see any for like another 10, 11, or 12 duels. So if I made any course corrections or adjustments to like have graveyard interaction, there's always the chance that the graveyard interaction I added was dead more often than it was alive for the matchup that I wanted. So very hard to optimize. I don't know if we're ever going to find an optimal build for King of Games ladder. I think one of the cool things about the new skill is it allows you a ton of flexibility in deck building. So you can really tutor the list to your own specific wants, needs, desires, idiosyncrasies. There's a lot you can do with the list, and that's really cool. I really like that the skill kind of opened it back up. For Demon's Resonance, there was a clear-cut optimized version because these skills slowly became more and more and more restrictive as they wanted to taper down Resonator's power level and reduce the kind of shenanigans we could pull. But I don't think that optimization or that optimal list exists yet with Roaring Soul Resonators. I definitely think you can optimize for a big tournament or an event that somebody's hosting, because there it's a more competitive environment. People are going to be there to do their best and win, and they're going to play the deck that gives them the best chance to win. So the deck that gives them the best chance to win is probably like a handful of like 4 or 5 decks instead of like 38 to 45 decks, So yeah, you can definitely optimize for events, because like there you're going to run into a ton of PK. So Skullmeister becomes mandatory basically like in the main deck or even the side deck. But yeah, I'm very interested, intrigued, and excited to see where this deck goes, how we build to it and add to it over time as we get more card releases and potentially more support. Maybe not soon, but eventually. And I think with as flexible as the skill is, there's always a chance that we receive like incidental support, where they release cards that aren't intended for Resonators or weren't intended for Resonators upon design, but because of the way the skill works, we can like incorporate them and add them in. Kind of like what you saw with Demon's Resonance when it first released, and people were doing like Vendred Resonators and Thunder Dragon Resonators and all kinds of stuff. So that's a very exciting prospect. So I wanted to bookmark the early season King of Games. So I think 89 wins is a good number. I feel pretty good about it. Feel very good about it, actually. And I know that's technically more wins than I had for my last King of Games run, but when you look at the overall quality of my wins on this King of Games run, I would say it's significantly higher. We can take a look at my last 10 duels here. You can see the one disconnect. I got so nervous right here. We're going to go on a quick tangent really quick. I got so nervous here. I had a 4-win streak going into my fifth duel for the King of Games rank up. And I got the, typical spinny little yellow circle. I'm thinking like, oh, please don't disconnect. Please don't kick me and give me a loss for my King of Games rank up. And luckily, didn't give me a loss. It was just a clean, no disconnect, and I was able to go next duel and actually get the King of Games, which was nice. But when you look at like my last 10 duels, the 5 that got me to King of Games were Satori here. I think that's his name. I'm sorry, I'm not an RB kind of guy. But he was playing Sulfur Quartz, DM, PK, and Heroes. So 2 PK back-to-back Heroes, which are both, PK's like the deck right now. Heroes is a very good, respectable deck. Sulfur Quartz isn't bad. It's a serviceable deck. It's definitely able to do some things and put up some good boards and interaction. And then DM's no joke too. It's not the greatest thing in the entire world, but it's still a King of Games level deck. So quality of wins are very high. And if we keep scrolling, we have DDD, Gore was playing Mech Knights, Time Lords, and Resonators. So our last 10 duels technically 9, last 9 duels to get to King Games were like all top-notch deck, high-quality decks. And when you actually click in there and look at them, we're not going to do that. They're pretty well optimized. It's not people who are just building the deck for the first time or first figuring out how the deck works. So I think we should probably check my notes here. Sorry for looking down. I think I touched on everything I wanted to touch on. Maybe just go over matchups really quick, and then I'll do a deck profile, and then I think I'm going to talk a little bit about the state of Duel Links right now, because I have some thoughts on kind of like where Duel Links is and where I think it might be going and how I feel about it. As for matchups, most everything feels like a coin flip. PK, if you go first, you set up your red rain board plus any other sort of interaction. It's kind of heavily in your favor. If they go first, they set up their Requiem plus their back row interaction. It's heavily in their favor. It's feels like a who has the out kind of matchup. Who wins the coin flip and who opens the out. So we do have some advantages against PK, like we can run Skullmeister and not really be punished for it. We can run a lot of Skullmeisters and not be punished for it. Skullmeister could be a 3-of, and you're fine. It'd be dead in most matchups, but against PK, it's pretty darn deadly because you can stop a ton of their searches and really reduce the overall quality of their end board. So that one's not bad. I feel pretty confident in my ability to navigate that matchup, especially after having played it so much this King of Games run. I'm very familiar with what they're trying to do and every step of the way and every interaction and when I need to hit them and what I can let slide. So that was pretty cool. That was another cool thing about this King of Games run, is it playing so early in the season and playing against such a high quality decks and opponents meant I was really forced to learn interactions and all that kind of stuff instead of just running through my standard combo and hoping that was good enough. Hero matchup, just because I'm thinking about that right now since my King of Games win was against Hero. That one's also kind of a coin flip, which is who gets to go first and who gets to search their big blowout card. Do they get to go first and set up and open Super Poly? Or do we get to go first, set up, and open with Red Rain? Yeah, that one definitely feels like a coin flip, and who opened the outs. And yeah, conversely, like, you can be successful in that matchup going second if you're the one who opens the back row removal. If you open the way to turn off their back row, whether it be like Forbidden Lance on whatever hero they have on board with their Super Poly, or back row removal to just get rid of the Super Poly, or if they open like Book Moon to flip down your big level 8 or higher synchro, or if they open back row removal to specifically target the Red Rain that they know you have set. That matchup definitely feels like it's who opens the outs, and if nobody opens outs, who won the coin flip and gets to search their big blowout interaction. Mech Knights, that matchup was always like super close to being winnable with the old version of Resonators, and with the new support and the new skill enabling you to have like a big searchable Saki blowout card. The matchup is definitely winnable now. That's another coin flip one too. If they get to go first and it block you, it's kind of GG. You get to go first and set up like a full board of interaction and big monsters that they can't really get over with their regular Mech Knight engine, at least not with Red Rain making their life incredibly difficult. We might be having the State of Duel Links conversation right now, so we're just going to stop talking about matchups and we're just going to jump right into the deck profile, and then we'll circle back. I feel like that's the best way to do this. Sorry if this is kind of unorganized and rambly. So I've mentioned before in previous videos, I don't like to heavily script these kind of things. I like to just kind of turn on the microphone and the camera and just have a general idea of what I want to go over and just run with it. That way it's natural, it's organic, you're getting like the authentic, real thoughts and version of me, I suppose. So deck profile time. Let's jump into there. So this is the deck list, everybody. Let's just do card by card. We have 2 copies of Wandering King Wildwind, 3 copies of Red Sprinter, 1 copy of Skullmeister, 1 copy of Crimson Resonator, 3 copies of Red Resonator, 2 Book of Moon, 3 Forbidden Lance, 2 Cosmic Cyclone, 2 Forbidden Chalice, and 2 Red Rain. In the extra deck, we have a Red Nova Dragon, 1 Scarlight Red Dragon Archfiend, 3 Red Rising Dragon, 1 Tyrant Red Dragon Archfiend, 1 Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Bane, and 1 Dark End Dragon. So it's a lot of the same mixes and characters that you've seen in my previous videos. I'll touch a little bit on why I settled on each number of what card I did, but I'm not going to go over like specific interactions or go too deep into the specific interactions, because I feel like you guys kind of know that already if you've been paying attention. And if you're new to the channel, please watch my other videos. You'll see a lot of good stuff. At least I think it's good, and I think a lot of other people think it's good. Ever since Resonators dropped, and I've been making almost exclusively Resonator content for like the last week or 10 days. A lot of people have joined the channel. They've subscribed. Because I'm assuming they think what I'm saying is good or interesting, or at least I'm funny enough to laugh at that they keep coming back. So let's go with the most obvious starting point, which is 3 Red Sprinter. 3 Red Sprinter was really good for me, and something I particularly like, because Red Sprinter is your main starter. You need to run at least 2, so you don't brick out on drawing the only one and then shut off your skill, so you got to run at least 2. And one thing I noticed when I was running 2 Red Sprinter is I was never really disappointed when I had the second Red Sprinter in my starting hand, and like another fiend to trade off to get the Red Sprinter from deck to activate the skill, and, set up the entire combo line, set up the entire play. And I was never really disappointed because I always had the Red Sprinter, and I was like, yo, if they have the interaction to like push through my board, I have follow-up. They clear my board. I have Crimson Resonator in graveyard already. I just normal summon Red Sprinter, special summon a level 3 or lower fiend type tuner from my my graveyard, Crimson Resonator, and then I pop off again. I get into the Dark Dragon Synchro monster that wins me the matchup, and along the way, since I got to go full combo with the first turn setup, I get to reset Red Rain. Well, not reset it, but I get to add it back to my hand and then reset it again, making my follow-up really good, and their follow-up almost worthless, because I wiped the board, I cleared everything out, and now they got to play into Red Rain again. So that's why I ended up with 3rd Red Sprinter, because I was never upset to have multiples in my hand, and it's theoretically one of the best top decks you can have in the mid to late game, because if your opponent does manage to play through your board, odds are you've taken enough of their card economy away, or taken enough of their interaction away along their way to breaking your board. And Red Sprinter is just going to be free and clear off the top to combo off and get you the dub. So, pretty good. Highly recommend you would try it. One Crimson Resonator, mostly because it doesn't really do anything in your hand for you. It's not a bad send off of skill if you open it, because that means you get to dump a Wild Wind from deck, and the Wild Wind can tutor a Red Resonator to your hand, or an Oovaloop if you're playing Oovaloop. And yeah, not bad, but it doesn't really do anything in your hand. My second one, more specifically, doesn't really do anything in your hand for you. So I would rather play cards that have more utility, and or other, like more specifically, more fiends that have more utility than just Crimson Resonator. Plus, if I'm playing 3 Red Sprinter, my plan is to just keep putting Crimson Resonator back in the graveyard, so my Red Sprinters can just keep bringing it right back out and keep reusing it. It does become a little troublesome if your opponent interacts with it, but one thing I noticed along the way is people aren't siding graveyard removal for us, and siding is the incorrect word here. People aren't running graveyard removal to counter us. They're using the text they would normally be using for other matchups and just applying them in different ways to us, like back row removal. They're specifically targeting the Red Rain, and then living with whatever else we have set. Book of Moon, they're always going to be using it on our Synchro Monster, you know? So yeah, so one Crimson Resonator is fine. If we do enter like a graveyard hate kind of meta, where everybody starts maining DD Grow again, I think more than one Crimson Resonator might be very helpful. But we're not there yet, so we'll cross that bridge when we get there. 3 Red Resonator, because 2 is not enough. You want to be bringing 2 of them from your deck every time during your normal combo. That way you can shuffle one back. Crimson can technically bring one out from your hand, but you kind of lose value that way, because that's a card coming out of your hand. That's one less card theoretically you have to play with. So if you open a Red Resonator and you have to keep it in your hand, at least you can still bring the 2 from deck and keep the red in your hand for follow-up or for whatever other purpose you might need it for. So 3's good, and I specifically like red in this build just because the life point gain is invaluable. It being a level 2 tuner makes all the levels line up nice for your non-tuners to get you into Red Rising and get you into a synchro play. It may not be the best synchro play, but at least it's a synchro play. And its ability to special summon a level 4 or lower monster from your hand when it's normal summon comes up a lot, especially if you manage to interrupt your opponent and they manage to like keep, and you manage to keep like your board kind of established with your Dark Dragon Synchro on board. Red Resonator being able to normal summon that and then bring a non-tuner on board to synchro summon to help push your game is really valuable. 2 copies of Wild Wind, because it's a fantastic extender. There's a lot of instances, especially in the mirror match, where I would open like a Forbidden Lance, and people would use whatever back row removal they have, and then specifically in the mirror match, they would use Red Rain when I'd have Red Sprinter plus Crimson, and I'd be able to Lance Crimson and protect it from the back row, and then special Wild Wind from hand, and I get combo off anyways, and you know, win, profit. So great extender. It's really good to run 2 in case you open Crimson as your only fiend. That way you don't have to send one of your other Resonators from deck to graveyard. You can send Wild Wind. So high value play there, decent extender. Plus it's the homie, and I have 2 Prismatic. So you know, you gotta play him, gotta flex on him. Then Skullmeister. I ended up with the 1 Skullmeister just because I really wanted to have graveyard interaction in some form. Specifically for PK, just because it helps out so much with that matchup, but also for heroes. Being able to stop the liquid draw helps a lot in that matchup. It helps keep them off of like impactful back row, so the most you're ever dealing with is just the monsters, and their monsters don't really interact with you in a meaningful way on your turn. So yeah, Meister was really good. I wouldn't have been upset if I found space for 2, but I just couldn't figure out what else to cut, and I really wanted to get as close to 20 as possible. And I mean, I guess the difference between 21 and 22 is negligible, but my heart felt better about 21. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the monsters. Let's talk about the spells and traps, and we'll start with Red Rain because that's technically an engine piece in this deck. I ended up with 2 copies of Red Rain, specifically because opening 2 is like godly when you go first. Whether that be hard opening 2 plus full combo, or you open 1 and then you search another one through your skill. Having 2 of them set is incredible. It's extra incredible in the second scenario I described there, where you hard open 1 so your opponent doesn't know you have it, and then you search the other one so they know you have that one. People are always running back row removal in Duel Links. It's just the current state of Duel Links requires it. So they're always going to be able to target that one Red Rain you have set that they know is there. So it's really cool to see them, get rid of it, and then think they're okay to keep playing because the other one might not be another Red Rain. So it's great insurance to have that second one, and super satisfying when they remove the first one just to run into a Red Rain anyways. And the rest of the stuff, I guess Forbidden Chalice I would consider mandatory just because it helps you protect your board while you're making it, because you are very vulnerable along the way setting it up when you're playing into your opponent's board. And it's fantastic for protecting your board because all your opponent needs to do is, flip down or remove your level 8 or higher synchro monster, and then Red Rain is no longer a threat to them. So Forbidden Lance is great for protecting both during combo and after combo. Cosmic Cyclone is here because mirror matches exist, and also Time Lords. You need to be able to get rid of their stuff, and you need to be able to banish it because it resists destruction. And using like Tyrant plus an MSD just to get rid of 1 back row feels really bad. So just run the Cosmics. You won't be disappointed. If you're a free-to-play player, just run Spiritualism instead, because bouncing it back to their hand means technically, yes, they will be able to reset it and use it the next turn, but hopefully you will have won the turn you're bouncing the spell back to their hand. And then 2 Chalice and 2 Book of Moon. These could be whatever tech cards you have, whatever staples you have. Chalice and Book of Moon are just the most versatile, and that's what I wanted at the end of the day. After trying to fine-tune the list to beat the King of Games ladder, I realized that there's like no fine-tuning to be had. You just have to run like the generically most good stuff you have, and Book of Moon and Chalice are that. They're good going second, really good against PK going second because you can just negate the Requiem that they're setting up. And then they're also good going first because you can just set them and use them, and they help add some potency to your Red Rain, because if your opponent doesn't open back row removal to get rid of the Red Rain, you don't have to fire Red Rain as soon as possible. You can use Book and Chalice if you need to before you fire the auto win button. Then extra deck, I feel like this is pretty standard. I went down to 1 Scarlight just because the second one ended up like almost never coming up. It would have came up in 1 matchup. I think it was against Goki, but dude saw me put a level 4 non-tuner and a level 2 tuner on board and just kind of assumed I had a route to the second one to win, because I needed to remove a bunch of monsters so I can get the burn damage and then smash for win. But yeah, he just kind of scooped before he saw that I didn't have the second Scarlight in my extra deck. So yeah, only would have came up once technically. 3 Red Rising. I don't ever think 3 came up, but it was a comfort knowing that I had it just for grind games. And then the thought behind going to 3 Red Rising was, if I'm going to run 3 Red Sprinter, I want all of them to be live at all times. And one thing I should probably touch on now with the main deck is I cut Loop just because Loop kind of felt like a hat on the hat if I'm running 2 Red Rain, because the advantage of Loop is it's 1 card combo 2 Red Rain. But if I'm running 2, I'm going to open it probably just as often as I would open the number of Loop that I feel comfortable running. And the other cards I chose to run are significantly better in the mid to late game than Loop. Loop is only really good when you open it. So if I'm not playing Loop, I don't have access to a level 4 tuner monster, which means I can't turbo into a level 8. It means everything has to run through Red Rising. So if I'm playing 3 Red Sprinter to help me in the mid to late game get to the level 8 Dark Dragon Synchros, I wanted all of my Red Sprinters to be live at all times. So 3 Red Rising Dragon is the number. Again, 2 probably would have been fine, but 3 was comfort. Tyrant, my favorite card. I love it. The homie. So good. Tyrant minigame was established because this card is amazing. I added Bane just because I kept running into enough matchups where having a level 10 synchro mattered because it made Red Rain useful. I ran into matchups like Blue Eyes where they'd be able to get like a bunch of level 8s on the board with no problem, or Dark Magician. They could always use their quick fusion to get into the Dark Magicians, which is conveniently level 8. So having a level 8 synchro on the board doesn't really do anything other than allow you to activate Red Rain. Red Rain loses all its usability because the highest level is 8 and your opponent also controls the highest level. So Bane became a necessary thing. And then it was also kind of cool that if you did like your normal turn 1 setup, or if I did my normal turn 1 setup, which was like Scarlight plus a little buddy, which would be like a red Resonator, if for whatever reason I didn't need to use Red Rain and I was able to use my other interaction, or my opponent wasn't able to like work through that kind of board, any like normal summonable monster off the top pretty much became lethal because I could use the Scarlight that was already on field plus the level 2 red Resonator that was already on field to make Bane, and then I can normal summon whatever, use Bane's effect to tribute off the whatever, and then get the Scarlight Red Dragon Archfiend back from the graveyard. So really cool, really cool. Really helped seal a bunch of games, win a bunch of games by giving me 2 big beaters to push for game. Plus, Bane is bigger than Scarlight Red Dragon Archfiend, so you can use Scarlight's effect while Bane is on field, and you don't have to worry about blowing up your own Bane. So that's really cool too. Really helps for pushing for lethal. And then the one Dark Red Dragon, just because it's my adapt that's on the adopted Red Dragon Archfiend. Sending to the graveyard is so versatile, so powerful. It's always nice to have it there in the action deck. And that's the deck profile, everybody. I suppose now we should probably stop for a minute and talk about the state of Duel Links, and I should circle back there, and I can really finish off that thought. So when I was starting to go over matchups, there was a common theme that I noticed, and that I'm sure probably most of you noticed too, which was a lot of it was like, oh yeah, this matchup is fine as long as you win the coin flip and are able to search a big blowout card, but it's not fine if they win the coin flip and they're able to search out their big blowout card. And I think that's kind of where Duel Links is right now. We have a lot of very powerful cards that are very accessible at almost all points in the duel, and it always seems like whoever gets to their I win card first is going to be declared the victor, unless you open a very specific set of outs. And I actually took notes on this because I wanted to be informed when I talked about like the current state of Duel Links or whatever. So let's just go over this right now. So if you just look at like the meta tier list, so like the theoretical best stacks in Duel Links right now, let's see what we're dealing with. Let's see who has an accessible, for lack of a better word, sack card. PK. Their sack card, their auto win, is their rank up magic spell, which is searchable, and also set up by their skill, allowing them to detach 2 materials from their Dark Rebellion Dragon, which they can easily make because their skill also allows them to treat their level 3s as level 4s. And Requiem is very good. It's an incredible boss monster. It's a negate, and it sits there at 3000 attack, so it's not like it's easy to like get through if you are able to play through the negate and establish some kind of board. Plus the PK engine is so good at grinding that like even if you out Requiem, odds are they stole enough advantage from you or enough tempo from you that their follow-up is going to kill you anyways. But probably talk for another time. Next deck, Mech Knights. Mech Knights are kind of interesting because they don't really need a skill to help them. Konami just designed the cards to be able to search skill drain. Their big blowout I win button is World Legacy Secrets. You know, negates all your monster effects. They have the ability to special summon Mech Knights on your turn to whatever column you're putting your key monster in, whether that be like World Legacy Memory, I think it is, or Indigo can move a Mech Knight to the zone. So their big blowout win card is Secrets. And I guess in the Mech Knight Resonators version, their big blowout card is Red Rain, which is searchable by skill. Speaking of Red Rain, you have Us. I don't know if this deck is a meta contender. If I had to throw out a guess right now, I would say it's probably about Rogue status, at least for the pure version. I think the pure version still doesn't do enough going first. Your opponent is going to be able to have enough outs for your Red Rain. So if that's the only guaranteed thing you can do turn 1, you can probably do well in a tournament, but it's going to be an uphill battle sometimes. You're not going to be favored to win all the time. You can win, but it's not like you should win all the time. But anyways, going back to that, yeah, you have us. We have our big blowout I win card in Red Rain, and that's set up and searchable by skill. So there you go. And then we have Hero, which again isn't like a meta contender, but it's still a very good King of Games level deck that you'll probably see a lot because heroes are beloved by the Yu-Gi-Oh community. And they have their big blowout win card, which is accessible by skill, which is Super Polymerization. And they just get to have that, And then you have Infernoid. Infernoid is another one of those like Mech Knights where their big blowout win card isn't searchable by skill, but if they resolve, I believe it's Void Feast, they win. If they get to just special 3 from deck and then dump whatever they want with a Decatron, it's a very hard uphill battle from there. Then you have Salmon Great Salads. Their big I win card, their big smash I win button used to be Roar, but that got banned because it was too good and too accessible. But the engine is still incredibly consistent, incredibly good at what it does, incredibly resilient. And now they're using the KoG Live skill, which gives them Recoded Live, which is probably not like the strongest like I win card out there, but the fact that it's paired up with an engine that's so consistent and so resilient means that it's very hard to deal with Salads, especially if they get rolling. And then DDD doesn't have a big auto win card, but when you look at their skill, they have a skill that gives them skills for free, and it puts a level 8 in the face of extra deck that they can then pen summon, and it gives them very consistent, very easy access to the Galaxy Eyes Rank 8 toolbox, which is like a super OTK machine. It's a board breaking OTK machine, so that's all set up for them by skill because they get the level 8 there, and then they get scales for free, so it's easy to pen summon it back out. And then you look at something like Time Lords. Time Lords, again, not meta, but like TLM is considering it the high potential tier. They get Infinite Light. That's kind of all set up by their skill. Time Lords is significantly more fair than the other ones because their big auto I win card takes much longer to set up. But when you pair that with the fact that like Time Lords are naturally resilient, it's very hard to remove with them. Maybe it's not hard to remove them, but they demand a very specific type of interaction that most decks might not always have access to. The time it takes them to get set up becomes a little more manageable for the Time Lords player, a little more negligible for the Time Lords player. So to wrap this all up in a bow, the state of Duel Links is pretty much like a lot of decks that are very well set up by their skill and enabled either by skill or key cards to search an auto win card. And it can feel like a gigantic sack fest at times. It feels like a gigantic sack fest. If your opponent wins a coin flip, they search Super Poly, they set IDP. What are you going to do? There's not much you can do. If your opponent goes first, they win the coin flip, they search Red Rain, they set Compulse, Forbidden Lance. What are you going to do? There's not a ton you can do there. That's a very hard board to break. Same thing with PKs. They go first, they get to search the rank up magic, they establish Requiem plus 2 to 3 back row, and they have all the right names engraved to give them the right kind of follow-up. What are you going to do? What are you supposed to do? It's a very hard thing to deal with, and I don't really know how I feel about it. Duel Links is still fun. I personally enjoy it. I really enjoy the skills. I think the skills add a whole different dimension to the game and allow decks that never really stood a chance in other formats, whether it be like TCG, Master Duel, OCG. They allow those decks that never really stood a chance in other formats to shine and thrive and really get their moment in the spotlight. Resonators is one of them. That's one of the reasons why I like Duel Links so much, is because like this is the only format that Resonators is playable. It's good. It's decent. It's been great at times. It's the only format where that's ever been true. And I really like that skills kind of enable that environment where decks like Resonators can be playable, but I don't necessarily know if I always agree with the way they enable it. I don't know if I like skills doing so much of the heavy lifting. I don't like if I like skills being able to search the I win card. I don't know if that should be left up to deck building and chance, or if it's okay that, like, you know, if 8 to 10 decks all get an I win card, if it's okay, because, you know, there's 8 to 10 of them and they all have the I win card and they're all set up by a skill and everything's accessible all the time. I don't know if that's okay. I don't really know yet. I don't really know how I feel about it. If it continues heading this direction, man, just everybody gets the, you know, the perfect skill that tutors the I win card to their hand or sets up the play that then enables them to, you know, search the I win card via their combo. I don't know if I like Duel Links all that much. I don't know. It'll be very interesting to see what they do after this KC Cup and potential ban list. See if they knock down some of the sackiness, I suppose, some of the auto-winness that exists in the game right now. And it'll be interesting to see what they do going forward as far as like what archetypes they add, what cards they allow into the game, and what they think promotes a fair, fun, and healthy game. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on Duel Links right now. And I think I've had enough rambling for today. I hope all of you enjoyed the rambling. I hope all of you enjoyed my thoughts on, you know, my King of Games run, the list, and I guess the general state of Duel Links at the moment. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Before we leave though, on my community page I did post a poll for you guys to choose the deck that I'm going to be playing in the early stage of the KC Cup. As much as I love Resonators and as much as I want to play it forever, I think it's healthy for me and the channel to play some other stuff, and I think I want to play something a little more lighthearted, a little more meme-ish. So I put a couple decks up there for all of you to vote on. I'm going to let that poll probably go for a little bit longer, and then start playing the deck that you all picked for me. And by the way, I've checked the results. You all fucking hate chain beats. I put 4 options out there, and 3 out of the 4 have at least 1 vote. Chain beat is sitting at a 0%. I can't say I blame you. I don't really know if I stall the game out until I poke you for enough damage is intriguing or fun, but damn, I did not expect it to get 0. It's funny though. At least I know to never put it on another poll. So far, it looks like the leader of the pack is Rocket 5-Headed Dragon Turbo. That's a funny meme deck that not that I came up with, but I stumbled into, and I've kind of refined it a little bit. I'm kind of hoping to play that one just because anytime you get to summon 5-Headed Dragon, it's a good day, you know? So check out the community page while you're there. Like, comment, subscribe on literally everything. Just go through all the videos. Just like hit like. Even if you don't watch it, you should just like skip to the end. So I think it technically gives me a watch, and then like hit the like button and subscribe too. And yeah, I think that's it, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being part of this King of Games run. Let's give them hell in the next one. Be safe, have fun, everybody.